Days Gone was a much better game than it got credit for. In fact, if you look up reviews for Days Gone, you'll find that there seems to be mixed reviews across the board, split between gamers who played through the game and hail it as a masterpiece, and gamer review platforms like PC Gamer and IGN. Two platforms which didn't score this title above a D rating, with 63% out of 100 and 6.5 out of 10 respectively. Now, if you're a competent gamer who's been around for a little while, I'm sure I don't have to explain to you the amount of weight an IGN review holds with the gaming community itself. After all, this is a platform that once gave Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Unity a 7.8 out of 10. A game that was broken upon its release with several bugs and issues that never got fixed and never lived up to what it promised to be. More recently, they gave DICE's Battlefield 2042 a 7, saying the game is good despite it being regarded as a disaster and completely unplayable by the community. If that's not enough for you to read into how much stock you should be placing, or rather shouldn't be placing, in an IGN review, it's probably because at this point you're a lost sheep. Now, I've played just about every zombie franchise for console that exists. Not everyone, but most. And my history with survival horror games dates all the way back to the very beginnings of the Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, and Silent Hill series. And before that, games like Clock Tower and Parasite Eve. I've been playing zombie and horror games for over 2 decades, and I don't say that to brag, but I say it to just make an emphasis on the fact that I have a long history and experience in the survival horror genre, several years worth. And so when I got my hands on Days Gone, from the jump, I felt like I was in for something unique, something refreshing. And I have to say that I wasn't disappointed. One of the most amazing features of its open world concept that immediately set itself apart from all those before it in this type of setting would be the addition of zombie hordes. Waves of zombies that you have to fight through have been done in the past in games like Killing Floor and Dead Island, but not quite like this, right? An open world concept where you navigate its terrain on a motorbike while fighting off hordes of zombies, bro. Like this, the closest thing that I had ever seen to this was Dying Light and the expansion pack. And even then, its hordes didn't all chase you down at once, ready to tear you to pieces the moment you ran out of stamina or gas. One of the more interesting and main focal points of the game were these zones called nests. And each nest usually contained a horde that you'd have to deal with however you saw fit in order to clear it. Now, each of these zones, especially the bigger ones, provided you with an array of ways to take down the horde for that area, including traps, explosives, multiple areas to run, climb, and exit to escape, to make the best of your stamina. Now, of course, you could choose to run in guns blazing, but the bigger nests required a bit more tactical precision. And it was through this particular gameplay mechanic that this series introduced a new type of fear into the undead genre for me. In the early parts of the game, you really feel a sense of urgency and vulnerability. You're always on edge because you don't know what or who is lurking around the corner. So while you're navigating this world, trying to get your bearings and level up your supplies, your arsenal, and your bike modifications, you have time to take in the beautifully polished open world that the developers have built. While playing through this game, I repeatedly had to remind myself that the graphical presentation I was witnessing was done on the PS4. This title, like others, namely like Metal Gear Solid 5 and Ghost of Tsushima, is definitely one of the games that showcased the power of the PS4 and what's possible for future games on the next gen console, PS5. The textures of the forest, the trees, and the mountains were masterfully constructed, okay? Masterfully constructed. Now add to that a dynamic weather system, complete with every season of the year for you. And you have one of the most beautiful open world games that I've ever played. So let's talk about the gameplay though. This is one of the areas that I found really fun and really unique in its own way. Having a motorbike as a mobile utility was clearly one of the main focal points to set this title apart from other games in the same genre. Leveling up your bike was just as important as leveling up your skills. Being able to drift through the mountains and the terrain and steep hills of the level design really made this feel like it was one of one. The closest gameplay I've seen, again, to match this level of fun I had upgrading my bike and speeding through, the forest was in Dying Light. And of course it took, we all know that took an enhanced version for them to come. It was an add-on. It wasn't originally an original part of the game. If you only played this game for about 2 to 3 hours, I can understand why you might think that this game is average or even below average, because honestly, the game started off pretty slow. But what the developers are doing, in my opinion anyway, is giving the player time to get acclimated to the world and immersed in traveling the world and learning how it functions. Learning its unique story progression style, coupled with an RPG-based leveling system. Again, this gives this title just a very unique feel. And honestly, I love the way that it was done. In games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, you usually find more powerful weapons and items that sort of act as your character upgrade throughout the game, right? While Days Gone has its own weapon progression as well, you also get a robust skill tree to improve your own skills to fight off the zombie apocalypse. Leveling up your health, reload speed, leveling up your stealth abilities remind me somewhat of the system that was used in part 2 of The Evil Within, which is just another great survival horror game, definitely up there in my top 5. But that's another video. So now here we are, and if you're going to tell me that you hated this game because its storyline, combat, or world design just wasn't good, are you going to tell me that you hated the gameplay because there was a lack of depth, that you hated running from and building your arsenal up so you can come back and mow down hordes of zombies? No, you're not. Stop it. This title definitely deserved a better rating than it got. And I was super sad to hear that we wouldn't be getting a part 2 of this one. And despite its relatively low scores from gaming articles, there is a very, very, very strong community behind this title that has started a petition to develop a sequel. A petition that has reached over 1.6 million signatures as of the time of this recording. I have also signed it in hopes that we will someday get a sequel that I feel is really well deserved. If you'd like to sign it and haven't already, I'll leave a link down in the description so that you can join the list of many that are hoping to encourage the developers to give this one a second chance. And if you haven't played this one, then do yourself a solid and tap in. Alright, you won't be disappointed. Catch you all in the next one.